Now, we move on to the next question. Resistance built up via vaccination is called. This is the question. Options are like this: A. Naturally acquired active immunity, B. Artificially acquired active immunity, C. Naturally acquired passive immunity, D. Artificially acquired passive immunity. Now, let us look into the options. In your second PUC, you have studied specific body immunity as two types on the basis whether the antibodies are produced by the body or received from outside source. If the antibodies are produced against the antigen by the body itself, we call it as active immunity. If the antibodies are obtained from outside source, we call it as passive immunity. So, here we say resistance built up via vaccination. So, a person is going to be given an vaccination, a child is given an vaccination. So, what is this vaccination? When you talk about vaccination, it is going to carry the weakened organism, killed organism, that is a pathogen, or it may be a polypeptide of the organism. And against this, antibodies are produced. So, here we are inducing the body immune system to respond by production of antibodies against dreaded pathogen. So, it is active immunity. When you talk about active immunity, we have two kinds of active immunity. One is naturally acquired active immunity and other one is artificially acquired active immunity. If any pathogen naturally enters into the body against which antibodies are produced, we call it as naturally acquired. Here we are inducing the antibody production, thereby it is artificially acquired active immunity. So, option B is the right answer. The question is, spread of cancer from primary organ to secondary organ through blood is called. A very good question. The options are the following: A. Metamerism, B. Metastasis, C. Contact inhibition, D. Metagenesis. I hope, my friends, you know the meaning of the word metamerism. If you remember, in first PUC, while studying the phylum Annelida features, you have for the first time talked about metamerism. Metamerism relates to linear division of the body into segments, what we call as metameres. Thereby, that is not an answer. When we look into option D, metagenesis, remember, in organisms like coelanthrates, we are going to find alternation of generation from asexual phase to sexual phase to asexual phase. The term that is used for alternation of generation is called metagenesis. Thereby, option D is also not our answer. When we look into the cancer, cancer cells have lost contact inhibition property. If we grow normal cells in a media, the cells continue to divide to form a single layer. Once they come in contact with the boundary of the petri dish where they are cultured, their division stops. Whereas, cancer cells continue to divide to form many layers. This is clearly is the reason why the cancer is going to end up in the formation of a tumor. When you talk about tumor, we talk about two kinds of tumor, benign and malignant tumor. Benign tumor is not cancerous, whereas malignant tumor is the one which is going to spread from primary organ to secondary regions. The property of such cancerous cells which are going to be taken through the medium of blood or body fluid to the other parts where they re-establish and develop into tumor is called metastasis. So, option B is the answer. Okay, we move on to the next question. Indicate which of the following statements on nicotine is not true. The question is, indicate which of the following statement on nicotine is not true. Options: a carcinogen which causes lung cancer, a habit forming drug with mild stimulatory effect. Option C, highly toxic alkaloid which causes constriction of blood vessels and hypertension. Option D, one of the harmful substance found in tobacco smoke. Dear friends, you already know that nicotine is one of the constituent of tobacco. Along with nicotine, we also find carbon monoxide and tar. Tar is a name given to a large group of chemicals. So, when we talk about nicotine, it is the cause for making an individual to develop addiction. It is going to act as a stimulant. As a result of this, it causes constriction of blood vessels. This leads to high BP or hypertension. Thereby, this option is not going to be right. Nicotine is going to destroy the mucus secreting goblet cells. It is going to cause erosion of cilia because of its toxicity. Thereby, option D and option B are not going to be the answers. When you come to option A, it is a carcinogen which causes lung cancer. We all know the tobacco is the main cause for lung cancer. 90% of the lung cancer victims are tobacco smokers. The moment we talk about tobacco, we think of nicotine only. But nicotine has no carcinogenic property. As a alkaloid, it is stimulatory. It is harmful, leading to addiction. It causes constriction of blood vessels and hypertension, but it has no carcinogenic property. It is the tobacco tar which is having large number of carcinogens. Carcinogen is a term used for cancer causing agent. In fact, one of the most potent carcinogen whenever we talk about is found in tobacco tar, and it is benzopyrene. So, here among the option A is not the answer because nicotine is not carcinogen, it is the tobacco tar which carries carcinogen. Now, we move on to the next question, and it is quite an interesting question for you students. Statement based. Statement A, AIDS is a lethal disease and has no cure. Statement B, AIDS patients have to be kept in isolation from the family and society as preventive measures. Now, let us discuss the statement A and B. AIDS is a lethal disease and has no cure. First part, it is the killer disease. Thereby, AIDS is a lethal disease, 100% acceptable. It has no cure. Remember students, you have learned that only partial success in the treatment of AIDS is seen. Thereby, it has no permanent cure. So, statement A is correct. What the statement B says? AIDS patients have to be kept in isolation from the family and society as a preventive measure. Since it is a lethal disease, is it a communicable disease? If it is communicable, how it is going to be transferred from one person, the infected person, to healthy person? This is what we have to know. We all know the AIDS is caused by a virus, a retrovirus HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. This virus is transmitted from infected person to a healthy person through body fluid, and thereby there is no physical harm to any healthy individual if there is an AIDS victim within a family or in the society, and there is no need for us to keep AIDS patient in isolation from family and society. Therefore, statement B is wrong. So, when we look into the option C states that statement A is correct and statement B is false. So, that is our answer. Now, we move on to the next question. Formation of new tissue by cancer cell is called. Options are anaplasia, neoplasia, sarcoma, aneuploidy. So, whenever we talk about cancer, we know the cells of the cancer are immortal, they undergo continuous divisions, they remain undifferentiated, that results in the formation of malignant tumor. And that means a new tissue is formed. New relates to neo. So, the answer must be neoplasia. Let us look into other options. What is this anaplasia means? Anaplasia is also a property of cancer cell which relates to absence of any differentiation of the dividing cells. Sarcoma is a type of cancer. Whenever we talk about histological basis for cancer, we talk about different types of cancer like carcinoma, sarcoma, leukemia and lymphoma. Sarcoma is the cancer of connective tissue and muscle tissue, whereas carcinoma is the cancer of epithelial tissue, lymphoma is the cancer of lymph nodes, leukemia, of course you are all aware, is blood cancer where there is abnormal increase in WBC. Aneuploidy. When we talk about this, look into the second part of the word ploidy. It relates to set of chromosomes. If normal number of chromosomes are represented in a set, we call it as euploidy. If abnormal number of chromosomes occur, we call it as aneuploidy. Aneuploidy is also seen in case of cancer cell, and it is due to non-disjunction of separating chromosomes. Now, we move on to the next question, which is diagram based. Normally in biology paper, at least we are going to find two questions which is skill based, where diagrams are going to be used. Let me read the question for you. In the diagram of antibody molecule given below, different parts have been indicated by alphabets. Choose the answer in which these alphabets have been correctly matched with the parts which they indicate. So, what you have to do, friends, when you come across such questions, directly you label the parts and then cross match that with the options. We all know when you look into monomeric form of an antibody, it is Y shaped, made up of 4 polypeptide chains, where 2 polypeptide chains are longer, having about 450 amino acids, whereas 2 are shorter, which has about 250 amino acids. When we look into the antibody diagram or immunoglobulin diagram, what is shown here, A represent the polypeptide chain having more number of amino acid, we call it as heavy chain. So, A is heavy chain, whereas B represent shorter polypeptide chain, which is light chain. So, A and B is known heavy chain and light chain. At the divert end of both heavy and light chain, we are going to find antigen binding site, which is also technically called as paratope. So, C is antigen binding site. The 4 polypeptide chains are held at certain specific point by disulfide bonds. When we look into both heavy and light chain, each chain is going to have some amino acids which are going to be similar, whereas a part of the heavy and light chain, the amino acids are going to be variable. On the basis of this, when you look into the labeled part D and E, the D part which is found at the divergent end represent the variable region, whereas A represent the constant region having the same amino acid. So, option D is matching here, that is A heavy chain, B light chain, C antigen binding site, D variable region, E constant region. Dear friends, I hope you enjoyed this session. For you, all the best for you in your CET examination. Good luck. Thank you.